Kentucky News, October 20th, 2013. I have two stories here, and actually I'm just kind of blown away by the similarities between them. So, Mahmoud Hindi commits suicide in jail, and victim's widow reacts, by Bennett Haberly, the WDRB.com. Doctor is accused of gunning down two people at a homeowners association meeting. Has committed suicide at Metro Corrections. Jail officials confirmed. Dr. Mahmoud Hindi, who was awaiting trial for the deaths of David Merritt and Marvin Fisher, hanged himself in a cell with a bed sheet Saturday afternoon. Corrections Director Mark Bolton said in an email statement. The Louisville Metro Police's Public Integrity Unit is investigating a standard procedure for any death in the jail, and Metro Corrections staff is also reviewing the case, Bolton said. Hindi was last seen praying in his cell around 3:45 p.m. Saturday and found hanging in his cell about 10 minutes later. The statement read, staff performed CPR and Hindi was taken by ambulance to University Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 4:45 p.m. according to Bolton. Dr. Hindi is accused of killing David Merritt and Marvin Fisher at a homeowners association meeting at Springdale Community Church in September of 2012. On Saturday evening, Candace Fisher, the widow of Marvin Fisher, spoke to DWRB about the news. She was angry, shook up and angry. She wanted to go to jail, remember everything, but she didn't really want to say stuff and relive the day over in court. Following his arrest during an interview with police, Hindi told investigators about his long-running dispute with some of his neighbors. He called some of them racist and said he has suffered depression from how they treat him and their issues with his home. They have made a killer out of me. Actually, I was a very actually good person, very God-conscious. Actually, never intended to harm even a butterfly in my life. Actually, they just made a killer out of me and I had to do it. Hindi told LMPD detectives. According to previous WDRB.com reports, police say right after allegedly shooting the Homeowners Association president, 73-year-old David Merritt, and 69-year-old Marvin Fisher, Mahmoud Hindi talked freely and matter-of-fact about his actions. Hindi, I stood up and shot Mr. Merritt that way. Police, was Mr. Merritt sitting down or is he standing? Hindi, he was sitting. The police, okay, he was sitting. Was he at this angle? I think he was sitting at this table here, and I don't imagine myself I could do that, and I didn't know what happened. I mean, immediately turned to Mr. Fisher and shot him. Hindi says he shot each of them once. He brought a gun and extra bullets, and he never planned to shoot anyone else at the HOA meeting inside Springdale Community Church, according to previous reports. He said he had 6 bullets in the gun, 6 more bullets in his bag. Hindi was reportedly upset over deed restrictions to his property and blamed Merritt and Fisher. The Metro Department of Public Works and Assets determined that both were illegally constructed and violated the city's land development code. There had been court hearings over it. Hindi had a history of lashing out while in jail. So, Mahmoud Hindi, this entire incident has to do with restrictions on the property. So these homeowners association, they get together, say in a block or a street, and they vote on how everybody is supposed to take care of the property. And there is certain deed restrictions that evidently were illegal, and he had to fight in court over them because you're allowed to have there's a development code, and so I guess the ordinance has violated the city's development code. So it seems like he's winning, he's on the right side of this issue, but he's saying he's being harassed by these racists, and he just couldn't handle it anymore, and then eventually he just couldn't, he assumed shooting the 2 elder men was the best way to do it. And then they said while he was in jail, how he's saying like he was led to do it, right? He's a God-fearing man, wouldn't even hurt a butterfly. But just how they treated him, and he just couldn't, see any other way. And so it says he had a history of lashing out while in jail. In January of this year, while Hindi was receiving medication at Metro Corrections, officers say he became very combative, threatening to kill corrections officers. He also allegedly grabbed a cup of water and threw it at one of the officers. Hindi was later charged with assault for the incident. Mike Lemke, Hindi's attorney, said Hindi's trial set for July 2014. He declined to comment further when asked about whether Hindi had been on suicide watch at the jail. However, Chris Pointer, spokesman for Mayor Greg Fisher's office, told WDRB News Hindi was not on suicide watch and was alone in his cell. Hindi told police following his arrest that he suffered from depression over his property dispute with the two victims. So, Mahmood Hindi committed suicide in jail, and it's saying that he was lashing out. He had a history of lashing out in jail. So in January of this year, so they put him in jail, and he's been disrespected and dishonored, and it felt like he had to do this thing. And so maybe he wanted justice to happen quicker. He figured that's what would happen to him. Maybe he had already grown resolved to what was going to happen to him. Most likely, I don't know, eye for an eye, and Americans are, very pro death penalty. So though he had a chance to say something in court, but the point, I guess, was how he kind of like they say he's lashing out in jail. You're lashing out. That's what they say. He's lashing out. Okay, so let's compare that story to this one. A Breckenridge Metro High School student accused of assault, and they don't have any of the school officials' names or anybody else's names on it, but they do have the 18-year-old high school student. So since he's 18 years old, you're allowed to talk about this gentleman, and Terrell Q. Gray. But police say Breckenridge County High School student was arrested Thursday afternoon after he assaulted a staff member. So Breckenridge County High School, it's not even Breckenridge. That's a racist. He was like the youngest vice president of American history. He came out of Kentucky, Breckenridge, but he was pro-slavery. So Breckenridge is a racist name. So coming out of Breckenridge County High School. There's an 18-year-old gentleman who was in classroom, became angry, threw papers at a teacher. Assistant principal was walking by, saw what was happening, according to the arrest report, and asked Gray to pick papers up. I'm sure he asked, right? The assistant principal, generally, that's the disciplinarian, that's the most fascist. Mr. Owens, that was my assistant principal in Gallatin County High School, Kentucky. So the assistant principal was walking by, told him to pick the papers up. Gray responded by telling the assistant principal to stop yelling, which, who likes to be yelled at, and that's sort of, do this right now, stop yelling. At that point, a staff member began escorting Gray out of the room. Stop yelling. Well, I'm going to grab a hold of you. Oh, great, because I don't like you yelling, then you're going to grab a hold of me. And then he said he balled his fist and swung at the staff member, and then at this point he was out of control. He was placed on the floor. So, how disrespectful, how mean. He was arrested, charged with third-degree assault, according to the arrest report. So, there's a gentleman in Alabama, actually, a 15-year-old kid, who was streaking through a football game, and after he finished streaking, they threw a bunch of sex offender charges on him, and he was being treated like a hero in the school, but the administration wanted to make an example out of him. So by charging him with, putting him on the sex offenders list, and having a trial for this entire thing, it was going to, set the tone for how they're going to crack down on anybody, streaking. And because he was faced with these charges and had a trial, this 15-year-old kid in Alabama killed himself, just committed suicide. So, he was driven to having no hope for himself. Breckenridge Metro High School student, this gentleman, I don't see him actually being a bad person. I see that he's in the classroom, and somebody was being mean to him. They says he threw papers at a teacher. Paper that doesn't hurt. That's not assault. Did the paper even hit them? And why? What's happening? It's an oppressive environment. It reminds me of prison. So you have the dictator. It's very orderly, like cattle herds. And the dictator of the classroom tells everybody they have to do this. And if somebody says I don't want to do this, and they stage a protest, then they're going to get the assistant principal in it, and he's going to escalate it by being a dick and just, giving commanding orders. You'll do as I say because I'm the boss around here, and else I'll put violence on you. And knowing that, that's a threat, them being nice, that's bullshit. They might not have to say, like, cuss words or yell, or though he said he was yelling. So not only are they using their power as school officials, but they're also being dicks. They're yelling, pick that up. Pick those papers up right now. You threw those papers, now pick them up. Or what? Pick them up or what? And so that's when they said that stop yelling, and then that's when they grabbed him. Stop yelling. Oh, you're going to tell us, you're going to give us commands? No, now we're putting our hands on you. They started the fight. They put the hands on him first. He defended himself. They threw him down on the ground, and he was, frustrated about the whole damned experience. It was all bullshit. They made it worse. They didn't make it better. They escalated it, and now they're trying. Now he's arrested, and now he has charges. So, education is supposed to help a person move up in life. It didn't help Terrell Q. Gray. If anything, it put him in a dangerous environment, where either he had to sell his soul and just be an oppressed, sit down and shut up student, basically modern day slavery, right? Just teaching everybody to listen to the dictator, do as you're told. Obedience is what succeeds in the classroom, not independent thought, not creativity, not solidarity. So, he's being driven to this. Mahmoud Hindi was being driven to do what he had done, and he was in prison, and he was, lashing out, and they got him with an assault, and then they got him with an assault. So they're just hitting people up. They're forcing us into these institutions, and remarkably, two of them are similar. One's for educating so we can do well in our lives, and the other one is for prisons for, the cold-blooded killers and rapists who need to be set off to the side of society. Yet, how remarkable these two institutions are run, very similar, very orderly. The lunches, very, stand in line. Here's this, do that, go here. Hey, thank you. Have a nice day. So, it depends. It depends on your perspective. But if you look at the life as the oppressor and the oppressed, and you look at the big system and the big picture, I don't see this gentleman who lashed out as being a bad person. I see this person being picked on, and he's trying to verbalize, that he's being picked on, and instead the officials are kind of making it worse. And I can also see this in the jailers. Metro County jailers, they are dickheads there. They want to frisk you so they can touch you all over. They're molester oppressors. They're oppressor molesters. So, if somebody doesn't mind beating up your body, it's not that big of a stress to think that they'd want to do use your body for their pleasure. So it's that's what happened to me personally at this jail in Louisville. So I understand they're dicks. Do this, do that. Oh, I'm better than you. You're in jail, so fuck you. I'm the jail keeper, and we fucking treat everybody like total shit. So that way you always be compelled to just take orders and be directly obedient, just like in the school systems. Sit down, shut up. Don't talk to each other. Give me your phone. Don't talk to your neighbors. Don't build relationships. Don't network. Do your packets over and over again. Shut up. Sit down. Do your packets. There's 30 of you. I can't have all you actually getting a real education. I have to mass indoctrinate you to be compliant, obedient sheeple. And if you don't like it and you start standing up and speaking out about it, then the situation will escalate, and you will see the Leviathan, and you will see the strong arm of the state being covered up by the media, who nobody reports. They keep them nameless, so that way you know that they have they control the messaging of the story. Who said these things? Where these reports come from? Officials, the authority figures. Who are these people? They don't have names. They do have names, but the media doesn't report them. The corporate media just needs to fill in a news hole, so they like the sensational stuff, but actually standing up for justice and for what's right, that's a little hard for them to do. So, stop the oppression. Schools should not be identical to prisons. We could do better than this. Viva la revolution. Stand up, America.